Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of Light Season offense matches. Edelgard's third bonus week, and her second round in Light Season, meant that the teams didn't change much from the previous round. I was really impressed by how well she and Ashe worked together last time, and paired them up again this week. As usual, Edelgard's Raging Storm makes her an excellent Galeforcer. With some help from Quickened Pulse and Heavy Blade, she can easily secure 3 actions in a single turn without being danced. And combined with her bonus week stats and the various attack bonuses her team can provide, that usually means 3 knockouts. Aimer makes securing Heavy Blade checks extremely reliable, and its follow-up denial can open up some interesting multi-phase strategies. Ashe might be the newest face on the team, but she's both a powerful enabler and a force to be reckoned with in her own right. Her kit is basic, but effective. Her weapon and native lull make Heavy Blade checks easy to secure, and combined with her transformation's null guard, she becomes an extremely consistent Galeforcer. Her opening retainer skill also provides her teammates with an extraordinary amount of mobility, turning Ashe into a super guidance beacon that lets her allies warp up to 4 spaces in a single action. Having both duo and normal peonies on the team gives them a lot of options for navigating the map, including up to 3 dances in a single turn. The cross-map bonuses are powerful effects for attack-based Galeforces too. Milla and Air are mostly the same, providing the team with isolation and trap-breaking capabilities. There were a few teams this week that were well protected from Galeforce strategies, though, which meant that Zelgius and Guinivere got some time in the spotlight as well. These two continue to be a fantastic pair of carries, with Guinivere acting as a ranged specialist while Zelgius guards her from melee opponents. There weren't any updates to their team this week. They work really well as is, though I will be making some adjustments to fit Ashe into the roster going forward. I gave them 2 team slots as usual, with the only adjustment being Guinivere's B slot. Having the option to use either Null Seed Disrupt or Null Follow-Up lets them handle nearly anything that comes their way. Now that we've gone over the teams, let's get to the first match. This match will be a fun way to start the week, with a return to Ashe and Edelgard Galeforce antics. They've got a pretty neat team here, with this Brave Erica and Duo Hinoka in the front, helping to threaten most of the map, especially when combined with this Note, who helps extend Erica's threat range over to the right side of the map as well. Leaf is a great way to help cover them, since he can match Erica's threat range, and even though you could technically bait Hinoka from the left side, it's not easy to isolate the Zelgius even in a Milla bonus week, especially with Wagasa and the Stark Shrine helping to bring down Milla's defense, which means that any follow-up from Erica or Leaf can do a lot of work. And if anything survives, this Wings of Mercy Impact Unite can actually do quite a bit of damage if you're not expecting her. The Bramond in the corner isn't threatening at first, but if you try to snipe something before starting the fight, he can actually do quite a bit of damage that you might not be expecting, since there isn't a real dance trap here when Eldkin can't reach him. This should be a fun clear. I think I've planned this out correctly, and we're actually going to have to use all of our actions to get it done. But it's fun to get a nice clean clear like that, assuming we get it right. We're going to have Milla do a lot of the legwork and clearing out these structures in the front.
I bestow my blessing. My
Dance her one more time,
It will
then
be
move her
done.
down, and have Air move over here.
I do not
Then
object.
we'll have Ashe move over to the left. She'll be able to transform next turn since she's only next to Milla,
Time to go.
and then we'll move Edelgard over 1 tile. Nothing happens.
Lord,
I actually ended up needing to rethink this a little bit, thanks to forgetting about this chaos named from Yune hitting
I do not
Ashe's
object.
attack, which would have stopped her from being able to finish Leaf off in 1 round of combat. But with a little bit of creative maneuvering, we should be able
Your
to pull
plan.
this off anyway. I'm
Understood.
going to start by having Edelgard flip Ashe forward, and then
Ready.
letting Peony dance Edelgard. And Ashe's new position, and Edelgard's,
Time to go.
means that she can jump all the way forward and one-shot this Erica. She can't actually do any damage on the counterattack, even if she got a chance to. Then we're going to have air flip Duo Peony over into this lane,
I bestow my
and have
blessing.
Mila smite air forward, which enables Ash's follow-up attack, and Duo Peony's
Lord Asker, guide us.
drives should be just enough to let Ash finish off Leaf in one combat, and also secure Galeforce. And that Galeforce lets her
Really?
move down here, and also take out Hinoka. Taking those two out means that we take their duo's hindrance offline, which
On
means
the
that
right
Duo
path.
Peony can then dance normal Peony,
Good morning.
who can dance Mila.
Your plan.
We'll have Edelgard knock out Note. Then
Like
smite Duo
this.
Peony forward onto this bolt trap, which might be real, but it won't really matter here. Oh, and it's fake.
A new dawn.
Then she can use, well, one of two different warp effects to jump forward and dance Ash,
I do
who
not
can then
object.
move over and knock out Bramond. Which lets Edelgard step
to go.
forward one more time to knock out Eldgun and block Yune off from attacking anybody. That was a fun turn to plan out. I'm glad it worked the way I thought it would.
On the right
And with
foot.
all of that done, we can just have Peony pick up one of these pots,
Truly?
Ash pick up the second one, and let Edelgard close out the match. That was a nice start to the week. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a neat one, and actually not one that I thought of using Edelgard for immediately, mostly thanks to this very stacked up near save to do. He's even running an Axe Breaker, which is a neat tech choice and might help him against most Axe users as long as he doesn't run into follow-up preventions on their side, but it really doesn't help him much against Edelgard since she can just shut down the auto follow-up and beat his speed check. They're also boosting him with 4 different mythics, including this +7 bonus week Zothas, and Note on the front line who's out of his near save range, and a Bremnant and Triandra, who are both in range of his near save. This +10 Elfkin's fun to see too, and it's pretty chunky. It's hard to break through with a lot of units that are physical at least, thanks to the Courtly Candle's damage reduction. And he also provides Dedue with some extra defense, thanks to the defense opening. They also have this Edelgard in the corner, who's always a bit of a pain to deal with. Galeforce is an interesting option for her on defense. I think she's better off with the Bonfire. It gives her a bit more killing potential and stops her from just being walled out. But it can still give her a lot of ways to run around the map and surprise people. We should be able to get things started right away here. I don't think we're going to have too many problems with this. But there's always a chance for something unfortunate to happen. I'm going to actually end up getting this started right away. We're going to start by having Edelgard move up here,
Lord
let
Asker,
Ash
guide
move
us.
forward. Peony's going to jump over
this
Miller
way.
and dance Edelgard, who can use Ash's
Time to
warp
go.
effect to move in and one-shot Note. We'll
Like
just have
this.
Miller move up here and break Dark Shrine.
Yes.
We'll have Air move over,
A new
dance her,
dawn.
break
Death's
this Bright
caress.
Shrine,
Your
then have Edelgard move up and start taking a bite out of Dedue. We're not going to knock him out here and get our second Galeforce, but we're also pinning them behind this wall, and the only thing that should actually happen here is that Triandra attacks us, and does an extra point of damage to Edelgard. Since, even with the swap, there's just not much else that can happen here.
It
And
will
here,
be
we're
done.
going to do a little bit of maneuvering to make sure we break through to you in 2 shots here.
The glimmer of life.
Ready.
Going to Dense Milla.
Truly?
Move Ash over 1 tile to re-enable these solo skills
right
and have
foot.
Peony jump over Milla to give us another 6 attack.
Understood.
And now Edelgard should be able to punch through to you, even with the Pavise on the next combat.
Time to go.
There goes the second swing, or third total. And down he goes. It's pretty chunky.
Your plan.
And then from there, Remnant isn't too hard to finish off.
It will be
And we'll
done.
just smite Duo Peony forward. Have her use her Duo Dance to re-enable Edelgard.
Time to go.
And now that Didyu's no longer protecting them, it's easy for her to start mowing down the rest of the team. So this moves in first, but, well, Raging Storm is very good against dragons, even if they're pretending not to be dragons, thanks to the weapon. And down she goes. Aldegon's not surviving this either, even with the damage reduction from Courtly Candles. 64 times 2 is just a little too much for him. And Fatalguard moves forward menacingly. That isn't really going to cause us many problems here. From here all we want to do is pick up these ether pods, and this one in the corner is the furthest away. But I think we should actually be able to get there this turn, thanks to air.
My warmest
And
greetings.
a little bit of extra help from Ash's warp effects,
Like this.
and a dance.
The glimmer of
Disarm
life.
Trap is pretty useful too, since we don't have to worry about those.
Good morning.
And here we're going to have Peony dance Milla,
It
who
will be
can
done.
jump over the Duo Peony and start opening things up a little.
I do
We'll
not
have
object.
Ash move over here and pick up the second ether pod.
Your plan.
And Edelgard should be able to move in and eventually carve her way through her fallen self. Raging Storm's follow-up is very useful here since
Understood.
it means we can actually double her and finish her off in the second combat. And down they go. That was a fun one. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be another fun one. I haven't seen a Wallheart yet on defense. I do really like his Neurofine. I think it's a very strong effect since it's not like Young La Rochelle, which can be intercepted by the front part of a safe ball, and it just affects everything within his normal attack range. This Wallheart's pretty heavily invested for speed too, with the Lull and the Swift Sparrow, which can make him deceptively hard to handle, especially if his weapon's online. They're backing him up with a maxed out Farsave Cecilia, who's very hard to break with a lot of ranged units. She's just very bulky. And this Goody Boot's actually a very solid defensive dagger. We haven't gotten many of those, so that's one of the better options for her. They're rounding those out with a set of melee threats, this Brave Ike, and Kanigas on the front line, who doesn't get to transform thanks to Cecilia. But it isn't such a bad thing, since she's also guarding him from any ranged attacks, so he doesn't need the distant counter from his weapon. This Tiki in the corner is not really getting much done for them. She has no way out unless you release her, so she doesn't contribute much to their defense. And then they have this note on the side, who is just enabling their 7th slot and doing her usual nonsense. And finally they have a bonus week Sothis, who's a little spooky with an almost unstoppable Sirius on her counterattack. Assuming she survives, it can do quite a bit of damage. But this solo doesn't really do much for her here, unless the team breaks formation, which can make her a little bit easier to handle if you just initiate on her. There's also a bit of a trick here where you can actually bait Walhart from outside of his weapon's range thanks to Note if you just plunk a tank right here on this deer flag or on the blue line flag. We're not going to do that though, we're going to take a bit more of a creative approach to this, and actually use Walhart's Refine against him and his team. I'm going to use Ash's mobility here to have Air jump forward, test a trap, that's a real bolt trap, excellent. Peony can dance her. Then we'll have Air smite her forward and test another trap, which is also real. Great. Then we'll have Edelgard jump over Ash and get her all the way up here. Ash is going to move over one tile, which lets Peony jump over her and dance Milla. Air's going to jump all the way over Edelgard, thanks to the Peony's guidance effects. And then we'll have Milla smite Edelgard forward to block off their front line. Nothing's actually going to happen here, except for Zothis attacking, since Walhart disables Edelgard's counterattack, which stops the rest of their team from actually moving in and taking advantage of it. And Zothis herself can't even do enough damage to avoid rallying, so we don't actually take any damage at all this turn. And here, we're going to just move Edelgard down, and dance her to clear off the debuffs that she had from just about everything last turn. That lets Ash jump over Peony to give Edelgard a little bit more attack for this turn. Not quite enough for Edelgard to one-shot Zothis, but Zothis isn't really going to do enough to worry us here.
Revenge, it lives.
Even with the 10 damage from Wrath, she really just can't get a lot of healing in here, and it's easy for Edelgard to finish her off with the second swing. And we're going to have Milla jump over Peony to keep in range of Edelgard when she moves forward.
Yes.
Flip Duo Peony forward, which will let her dance Edelgard later. And then we're just going to let Edelgard continue marching through the rest of their team. Walhart, while spooky, is a lot less threatening when all of his self-buffs get panicked,
Your plan.
as is Note. And then we'll just have Peony move in and dance Edelgard,
Time to go.
who will just move back and flip Peony out of harm's way before we do dance her for one last movement
Your plan.
and have her move up and get her solo skills back. So Celia moves in first. She doesn't get counterattacked, and I don't think we'll knock Ike out here. Well, I guess we do. Never mind. Knigas moves next, since he has less health to lose. Even though he only really gets one-shotted here. Ike's going to take a couple of hits thanks to Irvin. But even 80% damage reduction isn't quite enough to save him there. From here, we should be able to clean things up this turn. Edelgard can move in and knock out Cecilia. Before marching forward and taking down this hindrance. And we can use Ash to jump over the Dark Shrine and have Peony dance her.
Truly?
And we're not going to forget to pick up this Aether pot,
Caress.
thanks to Air and a bit more mobility from Ash. And then we'll let Peony move here.
It will be done.
Milla move here.
Your plan.
Fully buff Edelgard for a one-shot on Tiki. That was a fun match. It's not too often that you get to take advantage of enemy skills like that, so it was neat to plan out. Let's see what we get next. This match should be a pretty straightforward one. I think we should be able to get it done almost on the first turn. They have a neat setup here with a couple of very threatening red mages on horses, legendary Lina in season, and a duo Leaf. They're both very strong in their own right, and they back this up with a Shamir, who can help mitigate any blue tanks that try to just endure these two. And she's not a unit you see too often, so people can be caught off guard by her combination of null follow-up and sweep effect from her weapon. They've also got 2 dancers here, which helps them avoid millas and get their team towards the front line, with a note and a bonus week Sithis rounding out their squad. It can be a little difficult to approach this thanks to the wall in front, including the mountains, and just the threat range that Lena offers. But I think we should be able to clean this out without too many problems at all. I'm going to start by having Noah smite Ashe forward, and then moving Ashe over 1 tile, which will let Edelgard jump all the way forward and knock out Lena. Before marching on through the rest of their team. Shamir's going to be a very easy knockout. And Azur is just a little bit easier than that. And from here we actually trap Duo Leaf in his corner, so Edelgard never has to worry about him, and she should be able to enemy phase note Sithis and Triandra without too many problems, even if Triandra's actually going to survive here. And then we'll just take a little bit more time to break our way towards these Aether pots.
On the right foot.
And we'll say go. Even though we do get threatened by the attack speed menace from Note, Edelgard's still going to handle this pretty well. So this can get a serious in, which can do some damage, but Raging Storm means that Edelgard enemy phases her without any problems. And then we move on to Enduring Triandra, who can't be counterattacked thanks to being ranged. Before moving on and one-shotting this Note. Even 40% damage reduction isn't saving her. And then from here we should be able to have Air pick up this first pot. We'll let Edelgard knock out Triandra. And get her first Galeforce. And we're going to have Peony jump all the way past Ashe and pick up the second Aether pot. And with the speed debuffs removed, Edelgard can move in and attack Leaf twice to close out the match. That was fun. Ashe's warp nonsense is just, it doesn't get old. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a fun one on Christmas, and a little rude too, since this Gustav is extremely hard to break in the player phase, especially for somebody like Edelgard, who's actually fast enough to double him, and therefore gets hit by both the 75% damage reduction on the first swing and the steady breath charged Feast for her second. She would be able to break him, but it would take 3 actions to do it, so it wouldn't have really worked out too well for clearing this map with her. We've also got some very neat Note build with Impact and Fire Sweep Lance and double Poison Strike. They do give up Pathfinder to use this, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, since Pathfinder can really mess with threat ranges when you don't want it to. Their bonus week Sothis is a pretty cool build too, with Pale Breath to neutralize attack penalties and a Wings of Mercy and Precharged Sirius to potentially threaten something that might survive Felix without knocking him out. They also have a Dance Trap with this Triangle Adept Raventome Sigurd, who also has a Deflect Missile to make it a little harder to snipe him with a Linja, since he's out of range of Felix. Felix himself is very impressive. I like seeing maxed out Felix, and this one is pretty similar to my own. I'm just using Distant Defense on this kit, which I might end up using on mine at some point. It helps him be a lot bulkier against ranged opponents, especially mages. And rounding their whole team out with a Rally Trap to pair with the Ruse on Sigurd, is this maxed out Ascended Legendary Lilina, who's in season and using a Windsweep Fatal Smoke build on top. She's actually very fast with this build and investment, and can easily sweep a lot of far-safe armors, on top of just nuking them to bits with a Gifted Magic pre-charge. And Fatal Smoke is a great way to make sure that the damage sticks one way or another. Then they've got Triandra as their second dancer, whose ground orders means that Lilina will always be able to reach this tile below Felix and ideally get danced, while also giving Felix a much larger threat range and lets him cover this area of the map near Sothis. It's a very impressive setup, honestly, and it's cool to see. There are a lot of neat ideas going on here, and that'll make it fun to pick this apart. I'm going to take the first turn to just set up here. It lets us get our wave skills online while avoiding this dance on turn 1, and it also means that we'll let their catapult break our panic manner, which is important since I want to make sure that Lilina's rallies don't backfire if she rallies Triandra, since we do want her to meet that damage check on Guinevere.
I'll keep you alive.
So we're just going to take this first turn to open up some structures and make sure we isolate Sigurd for this next turn.
Very well.
Move everybody else over.
Maybe this
Say go.
way.
We're all out of range here, so safe defense kicks in and nothing happens. Then from here we should just be able to march Guinevere forward, break this last flag,
What is it?
move over one
What's your
space,
plan?
and let Zelgius swap her for a full spectrum of buffs. And we'll give Guinevere
morning.
some minor attack and res buffs, just to make extra sure that Triandra will always attack her.
The
And then
glimmer
we'll
of
move her
life.
down,
It will be
have
done.
Mola jump over her, and
Your
say go.
orders.
From here, Lilina should start this by rallying Felix. Yep. And then everyone should just move in to attack Guinevere. Felix can do some damage, but it's not enough to put Guinevere in too much danger, and Menace from Note means she has more than enough firepower to wipe them out, even with a defense tile. And, well, the mages aren't going to really punch through her either. Triandra does enough damage. 3 points to punch through that dance check, which is why I didn't give her a full res buff. I just wanted to be safe. The difference between 5 and 8 isn't too much anyway when she heals after combat, and, well, Sigurd isn't going to have a good time here. Triangle Adept on top of Guinevere's color advantage, and effective damage means she nukes him from orbit. That turn went really well, and even had the added bonus of disabling both Sothis and Lilina's pre-charged specials. And means we can do something a little risky this turn to start clearing things up. Since Lilina is never actually going to be able to damage to Guinevere, okay, it didn't end up being a real bolt trap. I was almost hoping it would be, since it would be funny to tank this after taking 50 damage for free. But this just makes it very easy for Guinevere to knock out Lilina before she starts rallying all over the place. And then we can dance her. And have her knock out Note as well, since Zelgius doesn't really want to deal with fire sleep effects either. And then from here, Sothis really isn't going to accomplish much on her own, and Gustav can't reach us. So
Your orders.
we'll just let Zelgius swap ruler back,
Yes.
have Air pick up one of the spots, and say go. Sothis attacks in, could get some damage done. The Pale Growth negating that attack debuff does a lot for her. But it's not going
Say your
to
prayers.
save her from a Black River counterattack. And then we'll just let her pick up this spot,
Very well.
move Guinevere forward,
Very well.
let Uller smite Zelgius, and let him enemy phase Gustav.
No draw, no escape.
Even with the damage reduction on the Black Lure, it's not enough to let him survive that. This match is going to be a really fun one to see play out. I haven't run into a legendary Marth who's been maxed out like this on a defense yet, and he's actually very intimidating while he's in season. He's a big ball of stats, and while we do get to hit him with the Panic Manner, his Unity effect means that just means that you can't actually get rid of those buffs with something like Close Defense. They also back him up with this in-season legendary Lolina, who's also maxed out and is very spooky, though this renewal seal seems a bit odd, and she'd probably be better off with the second life from death. Rounding out that pair is this bonus week almost maxed out Sothis. And of course a bonus, or not bonus week, in-season legendary Sigurd, who's a bit of a pain, just thanks to his usual combination of Quickened Pulse and Holy Night Aura, letting him reach areas you don't want him to, and also letting his allies get extra mobile in the same turn, especially in combination with Note and her Pathfinder. And then they're rounding all of that out with Yune for some extra speed and debuffs, and Micaiah in the corner, who's a bit out of place compared to the rest of these. She can help against armored opponents, but she doesn't have her Refine here, and it's really just there as a green mage to try to help break through any blues tanking their way through the red threats. I think, though, that we should be able to handle this overall. There's some spooky things here, and I haven't planned this out quite as thoroughly as I'd have liked, but I don't think it'll matter. I'm a little annoyed again that we don't get to use Edelgard for this one, but this Marth is a little too spooky for her and for Ashe too. We're going to start things off just by taking advantage of our safety fence
It will be done.
to lock out their
It will
first
be
turn
done.
and get these wave skills
Must
online.
endless. Maybe this way.
Just spend a bit of time clearing things out. This Panic Manner is actually pretty annoying too, since it does hit Guinevere. But even with panicked defense and res buffs, she shouldn't have too many problems handling Lolina and Yune here.
What is it?
So we'll just smite her forward and let her sit in place.
Like
And we
this.
move Milla to the side,
Your orders.
move Zelgius up,
Ready.
and dance him once,
I'll keep
before
you
moving him
alive.
up to save Guinevere from Sigurd. Then we'll just move Air up to avoid getting Zelgius sabotaged, and we'll say go. From here, I think the first thing that should happen is that we end up baiting Sothis forward. Oh, never mind, Marth rallies first, so we won't actually have to tank him this turn. She can do some damage here, but that's not enough to really threaten Zelgius, and she's not going to survive the counterattack.
One will live, one will die.
Yune moves in next, since she can do some damage to Guinevere. But all this really does is start letting her heal Zelgius. Sigurd's not attacking yet, since he just can't do damage to Zelgius. So Lolina ends up going in next, because she has less health to lose, and does absolutely nothing even though Guinevere has a panic res buff. Then Sigurd finally stops being a coward and attacks, but he's not going to get anything done
No
here,
draw, no escape.
even if he does get to swing twice.
One will live, one will die.
Sadly, since we pulse smoked his special away, it means we don't get to knock out Micaiah here, but that's okay. From here, our primary concern is just making sure we reach these ether pots before closing out the match. This one in the top right is going to be the tricky one to reach, but I think there's a way we can
Very
get
well.
there. We're going
Good
to
morning.
let Uller and Milla start getting towards that.
What is it?
Uller's just going to move over here,
Like
and then
this.
Milla can jump over Peony, while
Are
we
you
just
certain?
let Guinevere and
What's
Zelgius
your plan?
sit tight and tank Micaiah this turn. I don't think Note's actually going to attack us, since she can just rally instead. one rally. And here comes Micaiah, but it's not going to do anything to Guinevere. Not without her refine and a whole lot more support. And then Mirth moves in next.
Very well.
From here, we're actually going to let Guinevere handle Marth, since I think he's just fast enough to secure the sweep check against Zelgius with his B skill. And, well, Guinevere's unities outpace Marth's. And down he goes. We're also actually going to let her just tank the snow, since Panic is shutting down her bonus doubler, and, well, Guinevere's actually bulky enough to survive that, as long as Zelgius doesn't intercept her first.
The glimmer of life.
Air, meanwhile, will pick up this Aether pot for us.
It will be
And
done.
we'll flip Peony this way,
It will be done.
Maybe this way.
to get ready to pick up the other Aether pot. Note moves in, can do some damage to Guinevere, but Guinevere heals after the combat, and Air's going to finish patching her up, and Pulse Smoke means there's never a special to worry about.
Ready.
Then we'll just have Peony move in, break the second pot,
Are
and
you
let
certain?
Guinevere put this unity to one more time by one-shotting Note. It's fun to take advantage of bright shrines, and yeah. Big numbers. Let's see what we get next. This match was another fun one, although it's a little awkward since I ended up needing to re-record the narration, since I managed to record the normal sounds without the narration while I was playing through the match. They had a neat and slightly degenerate defense setup here with a legendary Seeker and 2 notes. Combined with Pathfinder and a 4-range cavalry, it makes it very hard to avoid being engaged on by the Seeker. And if he gets to attack, he's also going to bring all of the rest of his team along with him. One of the problems with this, though, is that their major threats are all red or blue, which makes it very easy for a strong blue tank to potentially just shrug everything off and tank their way through it. Hector's probably the primary example of that. But if you don't actually have a far save involved, it can be pretty easy for the Duo Leaf or the Veronica to sneak their way through and find a target that you don't want them getting on top of. Having 2 dancers also does a lot of work for them to help avoid getting isolated. And Duo Peony, if she can start moving around, can really impact how well you can tank this thanks to her in-combat attack bonuses.
Like this.
I ended up needing to take a turn here just to set things up. And we can smite Air forward to test this first bolt trap, before starting to pull the rest of our team back and into position for the following turn.
It will be done.
Truly?
Moving Ash over here
The
and
glimmer
Air
of
behind
life.
her means that she doesn't get to transform for this next turn,
A new dawn.
but that's not a bad thing since the only thing she really loses from the transformation is the null guard effect, and since they don't have any guard effects on their team to worry about, it's not a big deal. So once we've hunkered down in the safety fence range, we can just end the turn, and not worry about this first turn engagement.
Death's caress.
And there, we end up needing to make a couple of repositions forward. Flipping Noah forward first means that we don't have to worry about the heavy trap potentially sticking Ash in place. Although,
Time to go.
she does end up doing more warping than walking. And once Edelgard's flipped her forward, the warp effect lets her reach the first note, and secure the first knockout and Galeforce.
I bestow my blessing.
Moving Noah forward here means that Ash will be able to look past Edelgard, and get her guaranteed follow-up to knock out Sigurd. She does take a pretty solid hit here from the Holy Knight aura, but it's not quite enough to one-shot her.
I will see it done.
And in the end, all it really does is enable Wings of Mercy for the peony that we haven't used yet.
Your plan.
From there, Edelgard can walk over and knock out the second note.
Lord Asker
And
guide
then we
us.
can have Ashe move over and knock out Veronica with her Galeforce action. That position lets our Duopini warp in and start trapping their Sigurd, while also giving Ashe one more attack
I do not object.
to move up and knock out their Duopini. And from there we just have Edelgard march up and ignore her solo conditions to actually double and finish off this leaf. The Duo-Sigurd can still attack Edelgard here, but he's not going to be able to do much to her. She actually outspeeds him pretty heavily. And she's got more than enough bulk to just shrug him off.
Warmest greetings.
And from that point it's very simple to pick up both Aether Pots
Understood.
and let Edelgard close out the match. This match will be a fun way to close out the week. They sadly have a setup that heavily discourages any sort of Galeforce and antics, with traps along the front line and ranged cavs on the front line as well to provide a very long threat range and prevent you from using the area to set up and try to test the traps or engage on this. And this maxed out Python is honestly quite impressive. Oh, missing one Dragon Flower, but other than that, the combination of Guard and Spendthrift, along with a heavy investment for his res with the ARD skill and a Mirror Strike, mean that it's very difficult to actually knock him out in one round of combat, which can enable Wings of Mercy Chain from Triandra and let him snipe something that you don't want him to reach. Dual Leaf, as always, is a menace, and this Rally Trap on Brandman with Sturdy Impact and Sturdy Blow can help catch people off guard if he rallies forward onto either Leaf or Python, which he can do with either Pathfinder from Note or the Ground Orders from Triandra. This Nana in the back with her Palm Staff also makes it really hard to engage onto the Leaf, and can make it very difficult to actually knock things out on the counterattack if she just gets to attack for free. And she's not a slouch as an offense unit either, thanks to the attack speed push and blade session, while also enabling turn 1 plays with odd recovery. And they round this whole thing out with a very heavily speed invested Seeker. He can actually wind sweep quite a few things with this build. It's neat to see. I'm not really expecting to have too many problems with this, although Zelgius isn't going to really get to do much. This is mostly just going to be a Guinevere show. But there's nothing wrong with that. We are going to take advantage of our safety fence for this turn. Their catapult doesn't quite reach it. It's one column too far over. And it's a good column for it to be in. Most people don't move this all the way to the left like I do.
It will be done.
We must end this.
So we're just going to take this first
It will
turn,
be done.
Good morning.
move everybody into position,
Yes.
I'll keep you alive.
and then say go. Nope, nothing happens here. So we'll
Like
just
this.
move Noah over,
Very well.
move Guinevere up one tile,
Very well.
smite her forward, which is going to get her in range of Note's Menace.
Ready.
Then we'll dance Uller.
What is
is
it?
going to move up here.
The
First is
glimmer
going
of
to wait
life.
in place,
Your orders.
and Zelgius can just move over here. Python shouldn't attack him, and if he does, it's not going to end so well. Triandra moves into Dance, which actually only guarantees that we're going to knock out the other Dancer this round. Bram can do damage, so he's never going to rally, and, well, even without Null Follow-up, Gwyn doesn't have any problems handling that. Python should move next, since he can actually do some damage to Guinevere. But he doesn't quite have enough magical bulk to survive her counterattack. And that means we don't have to worry about him anymore. From here, it should just be a simple matter of cleaning things up. 50% damage reduction, even if it was online, is not going to save Secret from this counterattack. And, well, Leaf isn't going to do much better here. Even though he does shut down her healing for one combat. And then Nana moves in last. And gets swept off the map as well. And Gwyn almost brings herself back up to full health. Errol will do the job by topping her off. And nope, can't quite reach us. From here we just want to pick up these ether pots for completion's sake. And since
Very
Guinevere has a fully charged miracle, we
It
can
will be done.
do something a little silly and test this bolt trap by smiting her onto it. Oh, and it's real. Oh, it's only 10 damage. Shucks. I was hoping for a big one. Would have been funny to see her get to just use Miracle to survive Note this
We
turn.
must end this.
But that's okay. From here we'll just have her knock out Triandra. Then we'll
Maybe
dance
this
Uller,
way.
move
What's your plan?
Zelgius forward,
What is it?
have her move over here and pick off this Panic Man.
Death's caress.
Air can move forward and grab this ether pot for us.
I bestow my
We'll just
blessing.
move over and say go. Note's not going to get anything done here. Without a maxed out bolt trap, she's not even able to come close to proccing that miracle, so she's not going to be able to do much.
Very
And
well.
Uller can just pick up this last ether pot and
Very
let
well.
Guinevere close out the season. That was a fun one to finish with. It isn't too often Guinevere gets to solo a map like that. That was another fun week. It's a bit unfortunate that I didn't get to use Edelgard for more of the matches, but there were some pretty anti-Galeforce setups that we ran into this week, so it just means that it's a good idea to always make sure you have backup strategies. I am actually looking forward to figuring out the next few light seasons. I ended up getting incredibly lucky on this legendary banner, and we'll have a +10 Ashe going forward, so it should be fun to be able to work with her in every week from here on out, and I'm looking forward to experimenting with some different builds for her other than just Galeforce and support. I do have a Discord channel, there's a link in the description if you'd like to hang out and chat or get updates on video schedules. I've also got a Patreon page down there if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.